Whoops. Hang on. Hang on. Got to do the little countdown thing. Hang on. That's better. Although I'm off center now, aren't I? Hang on. I know which way to do it. Do I go that way? Do I go that way? Hello, everybody out there. Let me just see if I can adjust this a little bit so I'm a bit more centered. There we are. That's better, isn't it? Right. So, first things first, as I always ask, would somebody please just do me a favor and confirm that you can hear me? Mehran, can you hear me? I can see you saying hello, but I don't know if you can hear me. So just type, yes, Gigi, we can hear your dulcet English accent. Oh, good. Excellent. 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 Awesome. All right, then. So why don't we get going? Because there are a few people who are here already. So firstly, I must send Yevgeny's apologies. If you don't know, because most of the YouTube channel is actually just me, I have a business partner, Yevgeny, and he usually joins at these sessions, but he has lost his voice today, some kind of laryngitis. Fine. So he can't make it today. So we wish Yevgeny better if he happens to watch this. But you are stuck with only me today, which means it will be a slightly more disjointed session than it usually is with Yevgeny, because we can play off each other. But hopefully it will not be too torturous for you all. So how will I do this? Let me introduce myself briefly, and then I will just explain how this whole thing is going to work if you haven't been here before. So I am Gigi. Hopefully you recognize my face. I've got some lipstick on today, so hopefully it doesn't throw you off. I was an Amazonian for, how long was I Amazon? 5 years? I was going to say 7 years. I don't know where that came from. 5 years. And I was a senior leader, hiring manager, and most particularly a bar raiser. So whilst I was doing my job at Amazon, interviewing every day, it became very clear to me that people who had, well, there were some people who were doing way better than other people in interviews. And with a couple of bits of probing, I identified that these people tended to have had some expert coaching from an Amazonian. So being the good Amazonian that I was, curious, I went and had a look at what was available. And at the time, there wasn't a huge amount available on YouTube. And what was available, coaches were actually pretty expensive. That made me a little bit indignant. Can you imagine me indignant? And I just decided that I was going to try and give away a whole bunch of free content so that people who didn't have bottomless pockets would be able to do much better at Amazon Interview. So I started a YouTube channel. Big difference between the YouTube channel that you'll see from us at Day One Careers and what perhaps you'll see with other people on YouTube is, number one, we were actually Amazonians. Some people weren't. But also as a bar raiser, I got a very broad perspective of the business. Usually when you're hiring at Amazon and you're just an interviewer or a hiring manager or even a recruiter, you kind of only focus on your particular skills area and you get very good at that, but you don't really get much perspective beyond that. As a bar raiser, I interviewed for all sorts of job families, literally any job family I could and did interview for, tech and non-tech. Any country in the world you could bar raise for, which I did. Like, oh God, must be about 10 different countries I bar raise for. So much broader perspective of the interview process, which is actually quite varied across different roles. So that's what you'll see reflected in our channel. Anyway, started out my own business when I left Amazon, see if I could help more people. Met Yevgeny, who had very much the same philosophy as me, doing something similar. And we joined forces and we are together Day One Careers. And we have 3 other ex-Amazonians, 2 of which are bar raisers, also working with us here at Day One Careers. So there is the most enormous amount of expertise packed into this group of 5 people, and we are here to help you. So I think that's my intro done. How this then works is you beautiful people can ask me your questions, pop them into the comments box here on the right-hand side, and I will do my very, very best to answer them. A couple of caveats come with that. Please don't ask really general questions. Hey, Gigi, I am interviewing for a program manager role tomorrow. Any tips? Yeah, whole YouTube channel full of them, so don't go there, please. Equally, if you ask me very specific questions about a specific role and kind of the specific technicalities of it, or the technical questions that you might face in your interview, again, I'm going to struggle with that. There are, I think, over 10,000 job families now in Amazon, and no one person, even no 5 people, can be expert in all of those. So, my expertise absolutely on the process, on the leadership principles, all of that jazz. Once you get into the technicalities of job families and job functions, there it gets a little bit dodgy. So try not to go there if you can avoid it. Okay. So please do stop writing down your questions here in the box. I will just scroll down and work my way through them. If you can try and keep them into a single box, that would be very helpful, because it's super hard to follow when they're kind of staggered across multiple boxes and other people get in before you. So try and keep it nice and tight if you can. I will say hello to people as we go along. And please do stay until the end, even if you're doing something on the side, cooking, like bowling or whatever. Hang around till the end, because I have an incredible freebie that I promise you, I'm super convinced is the best freebie on Amazon interviewing out there. So stick around to the end and you will be able to get your little hands on that. Right. So let's get started then. So who have we got? Oh, quick hello to Mehran, David, Dishme 2000, Abiodun. Sorry if I've butchered that. Angela Ramsey. Hey, Angela. Who do we have? Jagdish, Marilla, Paveen, Sylvia. All of the people have rocked up. Thank you so much for joining me this beautiful Friday afternoon in London. It is glorious here. Glorious weather. All right. We have a question here, so just give me 2 seconds. Okay, yeah, sure. I can pop this one up here. So Praveen, oh, your lovely smile you have there as well, Praveen. Okay, so you had a total of 9 rounds. 9 rounds, Praveen, that's enormous. Or are you counting phone screen 1, phone screen 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Gee, even then, that's like a lot of rounds. Anyway, you felt you messed up with the hiring manager. Is it possible for you to request another round with a hiring manager, or call it the end of the journey for now? Okay, so no, you can't request another round. You got the opportunity that you got, Parveen, and there's no do-overs, unfortunately. That would be both inefficient and grossly unfair on other candidates. So no, it is what it is. Call it the end of the journey for now. Have you been rejected? Because I don't think you have been, from what you have sent me here. So you don't need to call it the end of the journey until someone else officially inside Amazon calls it the end of the journey, right? So it ain't over until the fat lady sings, as they say. I don't know where that saying comes from. It's based on opera, by the way, in case anyone thought I was being sizeist, which I suppose I possibly am. So I might not ever use that one again. But it's not over until it's over, Praveen. So until you get the call to say no offer, you're still in the running. Okay. All right. So, okay, Mehran. Okay. So in terms of difficulty, our interview question chosen solely on the level of the position, years of experience, candidate stack also take into consideration. Okay. So 2 parts, because you, from a dev point of view, you're going to get asked 2 different types of questions. You're going to have the behavioral side of things, and you're going to have the technical side of things. On the behavioral side of things, your seniority, your years of experience has got nothing whatsoever to do with it. The question that the interviewer likes the most is really the question that you're going to get. Everybody has their own favorite question, sad but true. So absolutely not based on your experience. On the technical side of things, again, bear in mind, I'm not a dev, I'm not a SDM, so the technical side is not my forte. But what I will say is, inevitably, you will be tested technically based on your experience. There's no point in trying to test an SDE1 for the type of kind of solutions and systems design type skill set that you would expect from someone who's been in dev for the past 20 odd years. So you can well expect that the technical side of things will be pitched appropriately for your kind of tenure. Equally, one would hope that any questions that you asked are cognizant of the languages that you have skills in, that you have noted on your resume. There's probably no point in testing someone on a language that they clearly have not put in their resume. Hope that helps. Moving on. Jumped. Gosh, it's really hard to control this thing. Okay. Oh, I love these ones. Abiodun, sorry, I probably brutalized your name there. You sent me a message earlier on LinkedIn. Have I picked that up yet? I'm sorry if I didn't pick that up yet. You got an offer for a program manager role at Amazon. Oh, you are absolutely welcome. Congratulations. It's my favorite bit of this session when people come back and say that they've managed to land their role. So huge congratulations. It is no mean feat to get into Amazon. So I hope you have a fantastic career. And if you become a hiring manager, send your candidates to my YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, I should say, our YouTube channel. Congrats. Well done. All right. Excuse me. Right. Hey. Oh, I'm going to kill your name if I try and pronounce it. I'm so sorry. I'm going to go for Ajuram. I'm so sorry if I've done that badly. You're going for a brand specialist role. Could I tell you which 6 Amazon leadership principles you should focus on to pass your behavioral interview? No, I cannot tell you that. And for anyone else that's asked me this question further down or will ask me this question, don't ask me that question. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, there are over 10,000 job families in Amazon, and I have not got all of the job descriptions and the key leadership principles for all of those job families memorized. So what you need to do is go to your job description. Oh, actually, what you first need to do is go to your recruiter and ask your recruiter if they will tell you. Odds are probably about 50-50. Then you need to go to your job description and read your job description line by line by line by line by line and see if you can make a connection between what you know about the leadership principles and the language used in your job description. Now, obviously, that requires you to have studied and understand well the leadership principles. So that's your first stop. But then work your way through the job description and try and connect the language and the leadership principle. I offer a service to do this. And effectively, what I do is I go through the whole job description, mark how many times each leadership principle appears, and then I add them all up and I stack rank them. That doesn't mean to say that that is a scientific method. It is not, but it's a good indicator of kind of what's on the person who wrote the job description's mind. You know, the more something's on your mind, the more references you're going to make to in a job description. It's just kind of the nature of being a person. There is a playlist on our YouTube channel where I show you how to do this. I do it live for candidates. So please do check out that playlist, and hopefully that will also give you some tips on how to find the key LPs. Good luck. Okay. Hey, Dishmi, why is a phone screen 2 required if the phone screen 1 went well? Different teams choose to do it differently. Some teams don't bother having a phone screen 2 and just move straight from phone screen 1 to loop. Other teams have a phone screen 2. Why have a phone screen 2 if phone screen 1 went well? Well, it is simply an extra layer of filter for a high bar outcome. So what I mean by that is, and by the way, I was a huge advocate of having 2 phone screens myself. I would always recruit in my own personal recruiting processes with 2 phone screens. Loop is a huge investment of time, enormous investment in time. You've got, depending on your level, somewhere between 4 and even up to 8 individuals at Amazon who are going to interview you. Each of those individuals is probably going to spend 15 minutes prepping for the actual interview. There's the hour of doing the interview with you. There's probably another 30 to 45 minutes doing their notes and making a decision. So we're already on 2 hours. Then they're going to read everybody else's notes. So that's probably going to take them another 15, 20 minutes. Then they've got to go into the debrief and discuss it with everyone. And that's another 30 minutes. So in the round, let's say that's 3 hours per person. So, well, if you've got a panel of 8 people, we're talking a lot of Amazon's investment. So it's a high investment exercise loop. The reason why many people choose to put a phone screen 2 in is it holds the bar high. Someone's got to make it through the second phone screen and really convince you that it wasn't just a one-time thing in phone screen 1 where they pulled out their 2 best ever examples and they don't have any other amazing examples. They've just got the 2 and used those. Second phone screen tests that. If you have to come back, do you have more great examples? Okay. If you are able to come back and show me you have more great examples, then I've got much more confidence that if I pass you on to Loop, you're going to have more great examples. So that's why lots of teams have a phone screen 2. It's got nothing to do with kind of not trusting phone screen 1. It's about making sure that they only pass through to Loop the candidates that they absolutely believe has a very, very strong likelihood of being considered bar raising. I hope that helps. Okay. Hi, Nisaj. I hope I pronounced your name right. So SE1 prepping, wanted to know if it's sufficient to stick with the topics the recruiter mentioned on the document, or is it generic doc? I couldn't possibly tell you because I haven't seen the doc. So some recruiters use the generic, other recruiters take the generic and add embellishments to it that they like. So there are a whole bunch of technical recruiters out there that add the Day One Careers YouTube channel into the generic document for pointing their candidates towards the prep. So without seeing the doc itself, I couldn't tell you. More generally, if your recruiter is very specific about what you're going to be interviewed about, my general guidance is to trust them. So focus definitely on the areas that they have told you. I do caution people against focusing exclusively on those areas and not having any idea about what they would say if anything else came up. We have had a couple of candidates who have been sideswiped. Is that right? Or blindsided? That's probably more right. Blindsided by interviewers not sticking with what the recruiters have advised. So it's a little bit of a balancing act to focus, trust and focus, but also not completely ignore the other areas so that, God forbid, the interviewer should go off script per se, as it were. You're not kind of hung out to dry and you've got something that you can say. I hope that helps. Right. Oh, sorry, it's on a big jump now, so I have to find where I was. Okay. Your JD suggests with a strong customer focus, analytical skills, and an entrepreneurial spirit. So you're asking me your interpretation of them. So I agree with the first one, Angela. Customer obsession, yes. Analytical skills, dive deep, yes. I struggle with the entrepreneurial spirit because there's no leadership principle that really talks about entrepreneurism. I tend to vacillate between whether they're talking about ownership or whether they are talking about bias for action. It really depends on kind of the broader context of the role and what else is going on in the paragraphs around them. But you're not a million miles off, is what I'd say there, Angela. Okay, moving on then. All right, just checking. Got lots of questions, so this is super cool. Super cool. Right. I shouldn't have done that because now I've completely lost myself. Okay. All righty ho. So, Mohammed, struggling on your stories. What's my advice? I don't know how to give you advice with that type of completely vague reference. Well, what are you struggling about? Are you struggling to turn the stories into good star? Are you struggling with data? Are you struggling even to come up with stories? Are you struggling with remembering anything from your past? Mohammed, you're going to have to be a bit more specific about what it is you're struggling about specifically. So drop it in a little bit further below. Explain to me what exactly you're struggling with, and I will see it and help. Hey, Brittany, do I have ideas and tips for using notes in interviews other than note cards? You tried that system for your HM phone round and found it overwhelming. So I definitely have a video about this. There's a video about this on our YouTube channel. So go and see if you can find that. A few tips that I can share that candidates have found useful. Some people, I love this. Well, this is one of my favorites, actually. If they work facing a wall, I work facing a window, so it wouldn't work for me. But if they work facing a wall, some candidates have like these giant posters. They have to write big. Obviously, the words have to be big so they can see them, but they have big posters around the wall to give them tips on what they want to say and the data points, etc. Other things candidates do is put, I like this one too, sticky notes around the screen with some like key reminders, etc. It kind of depends on really what works for you. I actually have a notepad and, I flip across pages, but I wonder whether, oh, hang on, let me give you this tip. Hang on, Brittany, I'll see if I can find it, because it's hard to know what specifically you found overwhelming, whether you just weren't able to find the actual card you were looking for. So hang on one second. Right, so this is my Amazon interview notebook. I've had this since 2015 when I first interviewed with Amazon. So what I do here is I have all my notes written in here in the star format. So I don't know if you can kind of see that there in the star format. And then what I do is I have these little sticky notes at the top here, which have labels on them. So the label is obviously to tell me which example it is that is there. And then I hear the question, I think, I want to use my Eurosport example. So I quickly go to there, flip it open, and there I have my Eurosport. So not sure if that solves the problem that you're facing, Brittany, but hopefully that gives you a couple of tips. But do go check out the video. Okay, next question. Okay, I'm going to do Dish Me again because although I know we've already had a question from you, I get this quite regularly. So here we go. How can you find out what level the role is? Who do you ask and at what stage? So ask your recruiter and ask them at the very, very beginning of the process. So that's the way I would find out the role if I could. I think the other point, other than for salary negotiation purposes, the level of the role doesn't really matter all that much, right? Because you don't really know kind of the standard that exists inside Amazon, whether it was for an L6, an L5, an L4, you've got no sense of what the standard is. So you can't kind of try and plan your examples based on that. You're going to just have to go as big and as complex as you possibly can in your examples and hope that you're raising the bar. For comp purposes, you definitely need to get that sense of not necessarily level, although that helps, but certainly using the job title to try and do some research. So knowing the level is helpful, because when you go to sites like Team Blind, for example, most people will quote the level of the role when they share their compensation structure. If you're using payscale.com, levels.fyi, they're not going to give you the level. They're just going to give you the job name. So get it if you can. But as I say, other than for compensation purposes, I don't really see why the level itself is particularly useful in your interview preparation. Okay, moving on. Okay. Okay. All right, this is like a multi-part question. So let's try it. How to develop stories for a hybrid position, business information engineer. I don't know what HM is. BIE, I know. Oh, right. That's the HM phone interview. Right. How do you develop stories for a hybrid position, BIE? I'm not sure a BIE is a hybrid position, but you develop stories for BIE in the same way that you develop stories for a solutions architect, brand manager, vendor manager, finance manager, marketing manager, blah, blah, blah. you go back to your career history, you identify projects and work that you've done that you're really impressed, you're really proud of, you go to leadership principles, you try and connect the two, and then you build them into a star structure. That's how you prepare examples. How many stories should you prepare? Right, so that's a good question. So broadly speaking, you're going to need, depending on kind of your level and obviously how many rounds you make it through. If we're talking about all the way to be ready to kind of cover everything from phone screen 1 all the way through to loop, you're going to need somewhere between 15 to 20 stories. How do you leverage 2 or 3 stories for 16 leadership principles? You don't. There is no way on God's green earth that you're going to be able to have only 2 or 3 stories and have them cover 16 leadership principles. So hopefully I understood your question correctly. Okay, moving on. Should there be any red flags if a position is open for several months? No. It takes a long time to hire at Amazon. They're looking for really, really impressive people who raise the bar, and sometimes that can take a very long time. I believe they were looking for the role that I filled for 12 or 13 months before they hired me. So no. And the other thing is sometimes they close down recs and reopen them, for various different reasons. And so the actual length of time that you see the job being posted for isn't necessarily how long they've actually been trying to hire for that role. So it's not even a reliable data point, let alone whether you should worry about it or not. Okay. What else have we got? Just checking. Okay, what time do we have as well? Okay, all right, we're almost at the half hour, so I'm just going to do one more and then we'll just kind of have a quick chat. Should there? Okay, no. Okay, so there are people asking me, there's a couple of people asking me about what technical questions they should expect. I cannot tell you that. As I mentioned earlier on, there are about 10,000 job families in Amazon, and I do not know the technical requirements for all 10,000 of them. So sorry on the technical specifics of any particular role that you might face for an interview. I cannot tell you. So I'm just going to ignore those questions. Okay. So, Mikhail, have I got that right? Was that Mikhail? So you have a final interview for position for a security consultant. Oh, congratulations. Actually, I just did a job description review, I think, for a security consultant, which is a customer-facing role. Yes, I do remember that from the job description. Will you be asked for all leadership principles? No. You're very unlikely to be asked, and this goes for all of you, you're very unlikely to be asked for all 16 leadership principles. There's just not enough time to ask for all 16. Generally, you're going to be asked, if you made it the whole way through to loop, you're probably going to end up getting to about, let's say, somewhere between 8 and 10 leadership principles. The variance coming because some teams spend more time on the functional questions and therefore they have less time for the behavioral. Other teams are purely behavioral. So somewhere between 8 and 10, maybe 12, depend if you're a very senior person, you've got lots of interviewers, leadership principles. So what you need to do is, as I mentioned before, ask your recruiter if they can tell you what leadership principles they are going to be most interested in, and then go through your job description and try and identify references to the leadership principles. Okie dokie. What else are we going to do? Okay, we've got a comp question here. How much wiggle room is there for negotiation once you receive an offer? Can we only negotiate the base salary or the rest of the package? Okay, so how much wiggle room there is will be dependent on what the original offer is and how high up the overall kind of salary band that original offer comes in at. So how long is a piece of string question there, but there is almost always room to negotiate. In terms of can you only negotiate on base salary? You can try and negotiate on anything, but what I can tell you is Amazon is much more likely to be flexible on RSUs and then sign-on bonus, and then lastly, base. Because obviously base comes straight out of the P&L. It's an ongoing cost, whereas RSUs aren't a real cost in the P&L per se, and therefore they're much more likely to negotiate with you on those. Hope that helps. Okay. So another comp question, how to answer the question, what is your target total compensation expectations? So generally our guidance would be not to give an absolute number, but to do your homework on wherever possible. There's like much more resources available for the US than there are kind of for Europe and the Asian countries. However, do whatever research you can to understand kind of broadly speaking what the salary bands are for your role in your location. And then our recommendation is to give the band to the recruiter and say, based on my research, I understand that the broad range for these types of roles is between this and that. And then have a view in your own mind what you want, and also the number at which you will walk away that you will not accept. But generally our guidance is to not give the recruiter a specific number, but to give them the range that you believe is fair market value. Hope that helps. Moving on. Okay. Eddie. Hey, Eddie. You did your loop on Friday. I hope you managed to rest over the weekend and not stress about it too much. Oh, that's sweet. You couldn't have got there without me. Your recruiter booked a decision meeting for Wednesday. Pre-loop. Normal. That's weird. Okay, they can't have a decision meeting with you pre-loop. They might have a meeting with you pre-loop to just cover off I'm so confused. I'm really confused by what you mean here, but you mean pre-debrief rather than pre-loop. If it's pre-debrief, it can happen when they don't have information from you in terms of target comp. Now, it doesn't mean to say that they are definitely going to give you an offer if they talk to you before debrief about comp. It just means they need to understand if they were to give you an offer, what that target comp would be. But I'm a little bit confused now between kind of, you've had your loop, but then you say pre-loop. So, okay, if you need to clarify that, please do drop it in below. Right, so we're over halfway now. What I want to quickly do, I forgot to put the ticker. Oh, Evgeny's going to shoot me. Okay, so quick pause in the proceedings here. Let me just pop you, Eddie, back in to the general population. Okay, quick pause. Clearly, we put tons of effort into this channel, like enormous amounts of free content. It costs you thousands and thousands of dollars to get it from anywhere else. I use dollars as a global currency, by the way. I'm based in the UK, not in the US. Put lots and lots of hours into this every single week for you all. But we do need something back in return. And what we need back from you is that every time you watch one of our videos, you either give us a thumbs up, you like it, or you do a little comment below. Any comment you put, I usually message back within, say, 24 hours. The reason why is those are positive signals for the algorithm. It tells the algorithm that our content is good and our content is reaching the people that they want it to reach. And then they surface it more in the algorithm so that more people who need the content can benefit from it. There's a load of complete, can I say crap? Can I say crap on YouTube? I have no idea. A load of complete rubbish that surfaces before us because the algorithm is actually biased towards tenure. Like the more likes something has, the more it surfaces it. Well, the longer something's been around, obviously it accrues more likes. So there's a whole bunch of stuff ahead of us that really should not be ahead of us. So please, I'm going to ask you to take a couple of seconds just to give this particular stream a thumbs up. And again, if you watch any of our other content, please just take that millisecond just to give it a thumbs up. So I'm going to play you a little video and you can like this stream whilst that video is playing. Here we go. Please like the stream now. Please like the stream now. Please like the stream now. Please like the stream. 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 There we go. I hope you found that as amusing to watch as I did to make. Probably not is the answer to that, actually, but there we go. All right. I'm just easily amused. I think it's a British sense of humor. I don't know if you've all seen kind of Monty Python and that type of stuff, like totally up my street. Right, moving on. This is a good question. I do get this a lot. So right, so you just wanted to know, what should you answer when the interviewer asks you a behavioral question on an LP that you haven't experienced in your short professional experience until now? You just got to be honest, Awes, particularly if you're pretty inexperienced. They're going to expect that there will be experiences that you just haven't had. So don't be embarrassed to say, look, I'm really sorry, but I don't have an example that fits that question. What you can do is, if you have an example that you think is kind of like it, but a tiny bit different, what you can do is say, look, I don't have an example that I think exactly matches that, but I do have this example, and explain it to them like literally in 4 sentences, like no more than 4 sentences. Like that's the only time I advocate for the kind of 10,000 feet answer. Is it okay if I use that? If they say yes, because maybe they think that they're probably going to get what they want out of it, super duper. Sometimes they might say no, because where you describe it being different, that difference really matters to them. If they say no, just say, in which case, could I please have another question? If you're really junior, don't have a lot of experience, it won't be too much of an issue. If you're much more senior and you find yourself in that situation, you can deploy exactly the same tactic, but you do have to be careful how many times you do it if you're more senior, because of course, the more times you say, oh, I haven't experienced that, they're going to think, well, what have you experienced then? Because if you're here, come here, you're going to face that. Okay, I hope that was helpful. What else do we have? Oh, we have Brittany and Chris having a chat in the comments. I love it when people do that. Oh, love it. I love it when people help each other. Actually, we have a Discord community. As I mentioned to you at the beginning, I'm going to give you away a freebie at the end. And if you take that freebie, it will give you access to our free Discord community, where there are like 2,000 people in our free Discord community. And they do exactly what Brittany and Chris are doing right now, which is give each other tips, provide advice. There are people who are at different stages of the interview process. There are people who are interviewing for exactly the same type of job family. They all help each other out. So even if you're not overly keen on the actual free course itself, having access to that community of 2,000 people is worth its weight in gold. So do hang around, and I will share that with you at the end. So what else do we have here? Oops, big jump, big jump, big jump, big jump. Yeah, Drew. Hey, Drew. So any tips for grads going into tech roles? Is it better to focus heavily on LPs or better to heavily revise the tech? It's both. Sorry, Drew. That probably isn't the answer that you want, because I'm sure you want me to shave you off some time, but you're going to have to do both. Now, again, if you're much more junior, you're going to have less examples that you can tap into from the behavioral side of things. You're going to need to reach into maybe your schooling, whether you're a member of a society or doing some internships or whatever. But you are definitely going to have to cover off both, I'm afraid. No shortcuts here. Oh, Samesh. Hey, Samesh. How you doing? Oh, so you got the Amazon Interview Whiz course. Excellent. And you're 50% done with it. Well done. That's a fair old bit of content that you've chunked your way through. So I hope you are enjoying it. And it's always good to see you. It makes me happy to have you hanging out with me on a Friday. It's not Friday, it's a Monday. Gee, I'm losing track. I swear to God, I'm losing my mind. Oh, yeah, good question. Can someone negotiate working from home? Oh, I love your profile picture. I'm sorry. I just have to take a moment to appreciate this profile picture. That is so cute. If that's your kid, they're gorgeous. Anyway, yeah, I, negotiate, I'm not quite sure is the right term. If working from home is important to you, you can follow two strategies. I followed one of these strategies. I'm not saying that either is better, but the first strategy you can do is just mention it up front. Say, look, working from home, really important to me. If I'm going to take this role, I have to know up front that I'm going to be able to work from home. Second strategy, which is what I did, was I went through the entire process, got them to want me to give me an offer. And then once they gave me the offer, I then explained my family circumstances. And bearing in mind, I started at Amazon almost 8 years ago now. So there was no COVID, there was no big remote working thing. I explained to them my family circumstances and that I needed to do a hybrid model between the office and home, because it had taken a year to find me, and that by that time they really wanted me. It was a little bit of leverage to get them to say yes, they would do that. You're going to have to decide which strategy it is that you're going to go down the road. I think it's going to be a lot easier now to try and get a job remotely than it is or than it was when in my day. Right. Okay. Okay, is the Amazon interview question bank and LPs available on the web? So Amazon has the leadership principles on their website, so you can just grab them from the Amazon website. There are many, many places around the web where you can find the actual Amazon interview question bank, the real thing. It is a confidential document. People are not supposed to make that publicly available, but they have. So if you hunt hard enough, you will probably find versions of the Amazon interview question bank. You can also come to our blog at day1.careers. I think it's blog.day1.careers. Or come to our website, Day One Careers, and link out to the blog there. We do not post the Amazon interview question bank itself because, again, it's a confidential document, but we have been through the web and pulled in loads and loads of different questions that we have identified candidates having been asked. We have vetted them and validated them ourselves to make sure that they are potential Amazon interview questions, and you can find those on the Day One Careers blog. Okay. Okay, so Mikhail, I guess I've just answered this one for you in terms of you can come to our blog to look at a whole list of questions. Need to clarify, there is no one that can tell you the most probable questions for each leadership principle, right? No one can tell you that, because each interviewer just chooses the question that they want to ask on that particular day for the leadership principle that they've been assigned. So there is no data anywhere that I'm aware of that is reliable that will tell you what the most likely questions are. That data is not hard coded when the interviewer captures what they've asked in Hire, which is the interview system that Amazon uses. So Amazon have not got the data set to identify what the most used questions are. I've seen on the web, I've seen on YouTube, like coaches who say, top Amazon interview questions, most likely Amazon interview questions. I'm highly suspicious of that claim in terms of whether they actually have that data, or more importantly, how robust that data set that they have gathered that information is. And, you've got to be pretty confident that there's no bias in terms of the job families that they tend to coach people on, or the part of the world that they tend to coach people on. Okay, moving on then. What else do we got? Oh, I get it now, Eddie. Right. So you meant that after passing the first stage, a recruiter booked a meeting to discuss the outcome of the loop before the loop. Is that normal? Yeah, well, yeah, because it sounds like you've got a good recruiter who one way or the other is going to speak to you and tell you whether you're in or you're not in. So again, is this normal? Ugh, like, what's normal? There are so many different recruiters that follow so many different processes. There really isn't like a single process that every single team and every single recruiter follows. There are patterns, but there's no single one. Can I imagine that it would make sense for a recruiter to book in your outcome meeting before you've even had the loop? For sure, if they're a good recruiter who's going to talk to you one way or the other. Okie dokie. Is it possible to go straight into the final loop? Yeah, there are teams that are doing this. So there are some teams, I think they're tech teams, dev teams that I recall, who are taking people through the online assessment and then sending them straight through to loop. There are teams that have trialed it and have rolled it back and are not doing it. But yes, it is absolutely possible to just do the online assessment and go straight to loop. And that's to my point about there is no one process. Different teams do different things, either do them kind of as part of their BAU or test things at different points in time. Okay. Oh, Sumesh, you like my haircut? Thank you. Looks a bit weird on that side, actually, but yes, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Right. Oh, I've had another massive jump. Okay, hang on. Oh, okay. So, hey, Sushit. Oh, you've got a premium course. Awesome. Excellent. God, you got loads of amazing content there. So you've got a phone screen too for an EMEA partnership lead role. Okay. What level should you target with 17 years experience? So I would say at 17 years, you should be looking for an L7 level role. Maybe an L8. Obviously, it depends on the seniority. If yes, there's partnership lead, then really with 17 years, you should be looking at an L7, maybe an L6. It kind of depends a little bit on the nature of the role and the vertical, but 17 years, certainly I was operating at an L7 level at 17 years experience. Hope that helps. Hey, Timothy, audio stuff. That's a cool speaker. Oh, Yevgeny will be so jealous. He's a massive audiophile. Gosh, he'd be jealous. That looks very cool. Right. You're in the middle of your AWS loop, finished 2. You think the last one was a bar raiser. They gave you a tip in the end. The experience should be more recent and complex story. This is a tip I give all of the time. So there is a video on the YouTube channel that talks about how far back your examples should be. And I think I talk until I'm blue in the face in all sorts of different videos about the importance of making your stories as complex as you can. So good luck. I pulled that up because I say these things all the time. And I'm glad that somebody inside Amazon is saying these things as well. And that very good of them to give you that tip actually in the interview. They could have said nothing, right? And just kind of gone and said, examples are too old and not complex enough. But they've done you a favor and told you to think about that. So, good interviewer, good person. I appreciate those types of people. Okay. Mohammed, I get this question a lot as well, so let's cover that off. Does custom session story only target the end user, or does the stakeholders also consider your customer? Yes, anybody that is a recipient of your output is your customer. So if you are a project manager, then all of the people who you are working with to deliver the project, those stakeholders are potentially your customers. If you are a vendor manager, then you've got 2 customers. You've got the end customer, and then you've got the vendors that you work with. So yes, you can be much more open to interpreting who the customer is. Okay, let me just have a look at what time we've got. 10 minutes. Okay, this is good. This is good. We're doing well. Okay. So Selma, hello, Selma. So you had your loop last Tuesday. Okay. Expecting a decision tomorrow. Okay. You noticed the job description is taken offline. Any thoughts on this? Still under consideration. No, there are I think I mentioned this briefly earlier. There are so many reasons why a job description can come down and potentially go back up again. Sometimes they haven't quite found the right candidates that they're looking for, so they take it down and rewrite it. I've done that a couple of times. Other reasons are they swap around recs. There's like a job description is assigned to a particular kind of finance code, if you like. It's called a rec. Sometimes they have to move those around. So they have to take the job description down to free up the rec, move the rec across, get a new rec open, and job description on top of that rec. So there are all sorts of reasons. So don't overthink it. Don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Just wait until tomorrow. Drink lots of gin until tomorrow so that you don't worry about it. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I think this is back to the person who was saying that they were having problems with their examples. So if your experience is not easily measured based on numbers and metrics, would you be heavily penalized? You've gone through 4 out of 5 interviews and found it hard to relate to exact numbers. So probably, I'm sorry to say. And the reason why I say probably is Amazon really wants to understand your impact. Are you moving the dial for your organization? Because they want to know if they're going to pay you and invest money in you, they want confidence that they're going to get a good return on that investment. And the best way to judge if that's going to happen is to find out, did you offer good return on investment for your previous employers? Ideally, you can evidence that through metrics. Metric A started here at this number, and by the time I finished this project, it ended up there in terms of that number. And having that data and that empirical information helps them understand what impact you had. Now, if you don't have that type of empirical data, there are other ways of demonstrating impact. You could talk about anecdotes, you could talk about customer feedback, you could talk about feedback from your leadership team. But broadly speaking, I would say to people, wherever possible, you need to find a way of articulating your impact. They don't want data for the sake of data. It's really about trying to get a sense of how likely are you to really move the dial in their organization. And that's why they want that empirical data. I'm not saying it's the end of the world, and please don't sit on the other side of this screen and be completely deflated after that and think Gigi says I'm never going to get the job. I am not saying that, but I am saying for the benefit of kind of the broader audience, the more you can try and find empirical ways of illustrating your contribution, the better. Okie dokie. What else do we have? My back's a bit sore. I don't know why my back's a bit sore. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll take this question. So you completed your interview for CIA position. CIA. What would CIA be? Customer Information Analyst. I love it. People just throw in these acronyms and like I'm supposed to know them. Tens of thousands of roles in Amazon, people. I don't know all of the acronyms, but I don't suppose it matters. You went to Loop. Resume got put back in the pool, so you were a not inclined recycle. You've applied for other positions. Is it okay to use the same LP-based use cases for Loop? Yeah, it is. So if not many months have moved on since you last interviewed at Amazon, it's inevitable that you're not really going to have any new examples to come up with in that period of time. So yeah, it is fine. It's expected. It's totally reasonable that you would use the same set of examples. If you can throw in a new one because something interesting happened in the kind of in between month or two, that's lovely. But broadly speaking, yes, you're fine to use the same ones. Okay. So, Udav, you're asking me for a link on the chat for Amazon interview question bank. So again, I do not have an Amazon interview question bank. Let's be clear. I do not have the AIQB. We have a Day One Careers QB that we have gathered from across the web. I would just say, I'm not going to post it here because I think it's just going to get caught up with everybody else's. Just please come to our website, which is day1.careers. Super simple. There are links to it all over the YouTube channel. Just go to the website and there's a little link that says blog, and you can go through there and you can find the Day One Careers question bank. No one's ever asked the question in this format, and there's probably a reason for that. How many sentences long should the star answer be? I have no idea how many sentences long it should be. So I'll give you some advice that we offer up. So we at Day One Careers say your star example needs to run somewhere between 5 and 9 minutes. That's entirely dependent on really the level of seniority. Really, that's kind of the key causal variable there, because the more senior you are, the more complicated your examples are expected to be, and therefore the longer it takes to explain it. So somewhere between 5 and 9 minutes. How that translates into number of sentences, I have absolutely no idea. Hope that helps. Okay. I get asked this question a lot. Hi. So in my opinion, is it worth accepting a lower level role at this moment, or retry a new loop for an L5/L4? Okay. So I think it's super unlikely that if someone's offered you an L4 that you could reloop and get an L6. Like, that's a massive, massive difference. So I think you can discount that one. So then the question becomes, is it worth taking the role and then relooping for an L5? The answer to this is, I'm afraid only you know the answer to that. The odds are always against you in terms of getting through the Amazon interview process. It's a very old data point I'm going to come up with here, but broadly speaking, I don't know how accurate this is now, but certainly last time I looked at it, only 1% of people actually get an offer who apply. So obviously that's the very, very top of the funnel, and like for every single role, like 5,000 people apply. So I know it looks like a scary metric, but nonetheless, the odds are against you. The odds are against all of us of actually getting any job. The odds are against you. So you need to think about that. And then you have to think about, do you need a job? What are your personal circumstances? Do you need to pay some bills, right? So that's another thing that you need to think about. It is, I won't say it's easier once you're inside Amazon to get a promotion than it is to get that level from the outside. It's much easier in Amazon to move to a different skills area than it is if you're coming from outside Amazon and you don't have that skill set. That's true. I'm not sure I could comfortably tell you, yeah, take a more junior role and then you'll get a promotion when you're in Amazon, because that's just not true. Promotions are not easy to come by. So really, you're going to need to think about all of those odds, right? Promotions aren't necessarily easy to come by, and equally the odds are against all of us in terms of application for any job. And how much do you need to pay your bills? I can't really make a recommendation without effectively living your life or being your partner and knowing all of that information permanently. And just so that we're clear, I do not need another partner. I have one. He is more than enough to handle. Okay, moving on. I don't know how I slipped into that. That's probably totally inappropriate for this context. Okay. What time are we at? Oh, we only have 1 minute left. We only have 1 minute left. So let me see if I can get one more question in. Okay. Oh, okay, Semper. Oh, thank you. You've just thrown in some. Right. I'm going to have to do this one. Thank you very much, Semper. So, by the way, Semper's used like something called a super chat. So if you really want me to be able to answer your question, maybe next time you can throw in a few bucks and then it jumps you up to the top. So I will do this one for you, Semper. It's good to see you back as well. So what is that little logo thing at the bottom? Hang on. What is that? That's cool. Anyway, you've got your loop in 1.5 hours. Okay. Should you be concerned with your eye movement? Just looking at notes, but don't want to look like you're just reading. So my tip here is to warn your interviewer that you have notes. So generally I say to people, say to your interviewer, just want to let you know that I do have some light notes here. I might even flick it up, some light notes here. So I might be occasionally looking down and checking these notes. I promise you, I will not be reading off them, but I might just take a millisecond to just kind of flick my eyes down. Usually they will say that's absolutely fine. You then obviously have to keep your promise. Like, you can't say I'm not going to be reading them and then sit there kind of, I'm not even sure I could read this now, actually. So keep your promise, but as long as you warn them that your eyes are going to be going up and down, then they'll be prepared for it. Okay. I hope that helped, Zempa. And I'm nervous for you now. 1.5 hours. I'm sure you're far more nervous than I am, obviously, but fingers crossed for you. We'll be sending you positive mojo from the Day One Careers team. Okay, so we are done for time, but do not go away because, as I said, I want to give you, without question, the best freebie available on Amazon interview preparation. Here we go. This is not very pithy. I think Yevgeny and I are going to have to work on a bit of a shorter URL, but head on to dayone.careers/Amazon-interview-whiz, and you can get our free customer obsession course. We at Day One Careers have created our own way of deconstructing the leadership principles and really getting to the heart of what they're about. Each leadership principle actually has a multiple different kind of facets. We call them at Day One Careers. Customer obsession has 4. If you understand the facets, that is a guide to the types of examples that you should pull out from your career history because you're likely to be asked questions on them. So customer obsession will give you the 4 different facets. It will then also tell you what the interviewer is looking for in your example. Like, what do they want to hear from you? It will tell you that. And then it ends with a mock interview of me interviewing me, different hair and makeup, looks very convincing. Not different accents though, clearly still me. It shows you how that then kind of all comes together in interview, the facets, what the interviewer is looking for, that type of stuff. So go check it out. And as I said, also, it gives you access to that incredible Discord community of 2,000 Amazon candidates who are a wealth of knowledge. Some of them landed roles, some of them didn't land roles, some of them are still in progress. So, it's an extra plus in terms of that course, amazingly valuable. All right. So on that note, I will say au revoir to everybody. I thank you very much for joining the session. I'm sorry Yevgeny wasn't here this week. Hopefully he will be here next week. For all of you who have interviews coming up, everyone at Day One Careers has our fingers crossed for you. For those of you that landed roles, congratulations. And if you have questions, you can always pop questions into the comment section on the YouTube video. And as always, please make sure you give us a little like. Good night. Farewell. I'm going for my dinner now. Thank you very much. Take care. Be safe, everybody.